Hello, respected viewers. So, myself, Yuvraj Singh. I'm a student at VIT Bhopal University, currently pursuing computer science engineering specialization in cybersecurity. Today, I'll be discussing a very important project, at least in my resume, that is FinTrust. This project helped us to be the national finalist in a hackathon conducted by Canara Bank named Cyber Suraksha. We won't be discussing a typical demo like how normally people do how the cookie points about the project. We'll be discussing about the tough questions which were asked to us during the hackathon final technical round. We'll be also discussing how after the hackathon we felt that how can this prototype be converted into a full-fledged product, or I can say basic mistakes which we made during the development phase of this prototype. So I hope I'll be able to add value and information to your life and to be able to show you how a prototype could be developed to a proper full-fledged product. Let's so now let's begin with the very first smart contract of the day which we'll be discussing today. That is data tokenization.sol. It helps us to convert the very important or valuable data into a tokenized form which we use to during our project. So now let me show you a very important failure which I found out, which when we think of it as a prototype, wasn't a significant failure, but to make it a complete developed product, I do feel this was a very proper and genuine failure. Now, let's just search it. What is that? Tokens count, yeah. So yes, here we are. Can you see the function which we are currently viewing, this part? If you can, then let's make a quick trivia. Can you identify the problem in this function? 1, 2, 3. If you could, then well and good. You are very capable of being a smart contract designer. If you couldn't, so let me take you through this. So as you can see, we are using a for loop. Okay, this for loop right here. So when at a prototype level, this wasn't such a significant fault since we were not handling so many users at that time. But what this for loop actually does is it goes through each and every token which was ever created and identify the active token at the current moment. So if you see at it, it's not such a significant issue for a prototype, but when we see as a completely developed product, this is a very big issue. Like, it creates big O of n time complexity, which creates a gas bloat in our smart contract or on our chain. So this was one of the biggest issue which I genuinely feel a mistake I made during the development of the smart contract, which happened unknowingly, and I wish I could remove this or I can implement a better way for a final product if I ever get a chance to make a final product. So this is our first genuine mistake we made during the development of this product. So this is our second smart contract of the day, that is compliance manager.sol. We made this to track the compliances like GDPR and DPDP. And in this, the issue which we faced, like, it wasn't an actual issue, but we made it to be an issue. So at start, when I went through all the compliances, I saw the user should have, based upon these compliances, user should have right to be forwarded. So for that, I made a function. What is it? Consent revoked. So we can say this at the structure point of the smart contract, we have this thing that consent revoked add. But during the development, since we were immature and still are, and trying to be a better, we thought that if we give this right to an user, even though the compliances asked us to give this right to the users, but we thought if we give this right to the users, they might misuse it and it might cause unnecessary load on our system. So At the start of the development, I kept this function that we'll use it afterwards. But as we go forward, like if I write the entire function name, we can see it has only one more occurrence in our smart contract, and this is at this place. And it is interesting that some we tried, based upon our knowledge, we tried to remove such a very important part of a compliance is just to make sure that our product runs well or functions smoothly. So this is one of the issues which we feel that it shouldn't be there. It should be a part of our entire smart contract or our product to make it completely compliant with GDPR and DPDP as right to be forgotten. But based upon our knowledge and based upon what we felt right at that moment, we ended up not keeping this in our entire. So now we are currently going towards the last smart contract, which we'll be discussing is privacy framework.solid. So to be honest, at starting we decided that let our entire website or app or this product to be completely decentralized. So we plan to use IPFS as our original database. But since we went through the entire compliances which were needed to be fulfilled, we saw that, as you know, user needs to be completely have the right to be forgotten. But as we know, as a part of a blockchain, data is always immutable and you just can't disappear from blockchain. Like you can't just remove the data from blockchain. So we made an hybrid architecture by which we'll just store the hash values on our chain, but the important data like the user's very personal data which he wants to be forgotten, those data will be stored off chain. And yes, in last, that means while discussing the consmanager.sol, when we said that we removed the feature of to revoke the consent, by that it doesn't mean that they currently don't have that function, but it actually means that we remove the right to go by on their own. But even today in our complete app, we have this feature by which their data is all automatically removed after a particular period of time when it's not used for. So now you might think that doesn't moving the data off-chain creates a central point of failure? So we will answer it will be no, because we planned it in a different way. When we are making hybrid system, we don't want to compromise the user safety in that. So what we did is we encrypted each and every layer of each and every data with a layer of AES-256 GCM encryption before it even hit the database. So to wrap up, the journey of building the FinTrust was actually a lesson to move beyond the concept of pure decentralization, and it also taught me the system constraints present these days. It helped me to bridge the gap between pure decentralization and various global compliances like GDPR and DPD, and actually reinforced my belief that the current world problems are not going to be solved just by writing heavy codes or writing codes day and night. It's going to be actually assessing the trade-offs between the various architectures present and taking the plus points from here and applying it to the plus points of some other architecture. So thank you. That's it for this video. Hope to see you next time.